not sure exactly what happened there. Power cut off at my house and took about 5 minutes for the internet to come back up. Sorry for the interruption. So let me see. I was right here. See, I got the questions still up if you guys are still tuned in. All right, so Benjamin said, best way to increase bench press at 350 if you want 405. Best way is to, basically you want to just progress slowly over time. Don't get in a rush. You want to add a little bit of weight each week if you can. If you can't add weight, do the weight better. Whatever your current rep scheme is for this particular week, try to make it a little bit better next week. Maybe not more reps necessarily, but if you can't do more weight, perfect the rep scheme that you just did. Do it better form. If you can leave the workout with a little more energy, then you basically have become better at that particular rep scheme, and that is progress in itself. Get on a solid program and follow it 6 months minimum. Really don't get in a rush. Don't get impatient. What'll happen is you'll notice with anything in training, this goes for squat, bench, deadlift, sometimes it's one or the other, sometimes it's 2 and 1, sometimes it's none, and then 6 months you get really good at one, and it could be a little bit of everything. But if you look back over the course of a year and you haven't gotten any better, then change something up. Anything. Change up the gym that you're at, change up the type of weights that you're doing. Maybe it's the type of exercises, maybe it's the atmosphere, maybe you're not getting enough rest, maybe you have, you got a new job, family life. Of course, you can't change some of those things, but if you can recognize them, you can recognize how to fix them. So if you're not getting enough rest at night because you got a brand new baby, maybe don't go to the gym as much. Or if you can, maybe cut out going to the bar and get some more rest. But progress is progress. And that's what I really want everybody to keep in mind is you can't look at somebody else's progress and think, well, this guy went up by 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I should be able to do that. It's not that easy. You could literally do the exact same workouts that I do and not see the same progress that I see. No matter what you do. Literally, you could take 2 twin lifters and do the exact same thing and have different outcomes. So just keep your head down on it. Keep your goals in mind. Make long-term goals and make short little goals to kind of grow your bench or whatever, your squat, bench, deadlift, whatever sport you're in, and grow a little bit over time. As long as you can look back and see a steady increase, then you've done good. What's my occupation? Well, I am a powerlifting online coach. I do coach bench and full power. I do own a website design company. I have for about 15 years now. And I'm a full-time dad and husband. So that's my occupation. How do I determine how to go heavy dumbbell flies? Oh, how heavy to go on dumbbell flies? Well, like I said, there's no set formula. Go off of feel. I am a very big advocate for leaving a few reps in the tank because you can improve and not go to failure all the time. Now, there's sometimes when it's okay to go to failure when you're trying to test some things out, when you're trying to feel, of course, different. If you're going for strength, it's one thing. If you're going for hypertrophy or bodybuilding, you might want to go to more of a lower weight failure where you're doing a bunch of reps with like 35-pound dumbbells versus 65-pound dumbbells. But it really just depends on the goal in mind. But I think a good start on flies is, just go off of something maybe you could do 10 reps at, but not die, and then do like 3 sets of that. And the next week, maybe do 12 reps of that. If you get to the point to where it's just hurting, then you're too heavy or you're doing too many reps. And I mean hurting like bad hurt. All right, so ideal weight for, okay, you're 6 feet, 165. What do I think an ideal weight would be? 165, for like powerlifting or just in general, there's really not an ideal weight. If you look at it, I can say from my point of view that an ideal weight is 250. But for most people, most normal men, that is very, very heavy. That is, in fact, when it comes to like BMI indexes and stuff like that, that's obese, regardless of if you're 5% muscle or 5% fat and all muscle. I think it's just relative to what your body composition is and if you're healthy and if you feel healthy. So I really don't have a straight answer for you there. I'm sorry about that. Pause dumbbell flies. I like pause dumbbell flies because it keeps a little bit of extra tension on the pecs. You don't want to pause them for so long that you're just time under tension for like 6 seconds or anything crazy, because you can hurt yourself that way. But I like a little bit of paused reps on the flies, on the triceps, just because I'm getting a little extra work in there. What sort of bench progression scheme would I recommend for a novice lifter who wants to go from 135 to 225 as quickly as possible? Pretty much what I said a little bit earlier. If you missed it, this video, I'm going to save it. It's only about 2 minutes ago when I said it. Basically, just increase something every week, even if it's just being able to recover better. Doesn't necessarily mean the weight has to increase. And a lot of people, what they're trying to do when they're trying to increase their bench from, let's say, 135 to 225, is they will be at, let's say, 135 is their max, and they'll try to hit 135 every week for the next 6 weeks, thinking they're going to get to 140. That is maxing out. That is in itself maxing out. Do not do that. If you, let's say, have a 135 bench and you're trying to grow it to, let's say, 155, because that's a good stepping stone on the way to 225, back it down to like 100 and do like 8s, sets of 8. And then the next week, maybe go 105 for a set of 8. And then like the following week, maybe go 110. Let's say you missed that last week. Well, now it's time to increase the weight still, go to 115. Or if you missed, let's say you got 7 on the 105, then stay at 105, but only do 6 the next week. It's okay to do that. And then the next week, go 110 for 6. And then 115 for 6. See, what we're doing is we're progressively overloading that weight to where each week you get maybe 5 pounds stronger for your set of 8 or 6 or whatever, and you're peaking maybe at 155. That might take you 6 months to get there. Don't get me wrong, 20 pounds on a bench at 135, you might think I need to go to 225 in 6 months. Everybody's different. If it takes you 6 months to get to 225, then you're a freaking beast. If it takes you 6 years, don't worry, because it might take you 6 years to get to 225, then 1 year to go to 315 from 225. Everybody is different, but progress is progress. And that's what I want to keep you guys in mind. Stay in your own lane. Don't look at the other person, because they may have, 1, better genetics. 2, they might be literally taking stuff that you're not taking. And I'm talking about, they may be taking testosterone. They may be taking different supplements that help them recover better. You never know. Stay in your own lane and don't look at what the next person's doing, because you don't know what they're doing. And even if you know what they're doing, if you do exactly what they're doing, you might get better results doing exactly what you're doing, because you're you. That's it. There's really no other explanation to it. Work smarter, not harder. But if you're willing to work hard and smart at the same time, you're going to beat the other guy almost every single time. It might take you longer to run the race, but you'll be at a higher spot on the bench press progression, if you will, if you just keep on improving. That person ends up getting injured several times. Now you're at a 315 bench and they're still stuck at 225. So keep that in mind. I feel bad because I only bench 200 pounds. Dude, when I was in high school and I weighed 185, I benched 200 pounds. And I was not ashamed of that whatsoever. Once again, stay in your lane. Don't look at the other people. Don't worry about what everybody else is benching, because as soon as you start comparing yourself to everybody else, you're going to find out that very quickly that there are, most of the time, almost everybody else is stronger than you. Because at that point in your life, you're not in the place where you're like an elite bencher. Now with me, sure, I can look around the world and I can see that there's 3 other guys that could outbench me. But I'm also at a place where that doesn't do anything to my ego. It makes me feel proud that what I've done is able to get me into that point. But I can also go, well, my squat doesn't put me top 3 in the world. My deadlift doesn't put me top 3 in the world. My total doesn't put me top 3 in the world. I'm definitely not top 3 in the world as a swimmer, as a football player, as a soccer player, as any other, sport. So if I was to be, let's say, talking to, let's say a world-class baseball player on their YouTube channel, and I'm asking him, how do I become a better baseball player? Because I'm a different type of person and different type of athlete, I recognize that it's going to take hard work. So I'm not going to ask questions like, how do I become a Major League Baseball player? I would ask questions like, what does your daily workout look like? Because I'm curious. The difference between like the elite level athletes and the people that are kind of getting started, the newbies, if you will, is they don't know that journey. They've never been past any point of really testing themselves. So they don't know the questions to really ask. And they're really curious of how do you get from A to Z in 2 weeks. And patience and hard work and finding that you're good at something and really enjoy it. Like me with bench, I would have never dreamed this 6 years ago. I would have had no clue that I could be sitting where I'm at and be at the level that I'm at. And honestly, if you asked me if I wanted to, I wouldn't have wanted to, because I didn't care. It's just like if you ask me right now, would I love to be able to be the best goalie in soccer, in Major League Soccer? To me, yeah, okay, that'd be kind of cool, I guess, but do I want to put in the work? No. But if I actually had a knack for that, I really had a good, I could in fact do that because of whatever my gift is, and I found myself doing it, then it'd be kind of an eye-opener for me, just like the bench was for me. I did not know that a 600-pound bench was even a good thing until like 4 years ago. I didn't know. I was ignorant about it. So there's definitely a gift there, and there's no doubt about that. But when you're trying to, let's say, go from a 200-pound bench, that is in fact a good bench. Now, if you're in the powerlifting world and you're at a powerlifting competition, sure, you're going to see guys benching 300, 400 or more, even at 185. You're going to see some of them, very few, but some of them going, 500. Those are the elite of the elite of the elite, the best of the world, the cream of the crop. You can't compare yourself to them. So yes, 200 pounds is a good bench. Be proud of it. 531 better than 5x5. Once again, very, very different training schemes. Some people will benefit better from 5x5. I've done both and I've seen great results. So stick to one 6 months, and if you don't see progress, maybe change it up. Do I have a favorite pair of J's? I do not. I'm a sneaker guy. Well, when I say sneaker, I mean I'm gonna wear like Walmart freaking sneakers. I don't really give a crap what I wear.
It's
Nike.
hard to find your size.
And I wear a size 15, 16, so. How much could you squat and bench, deadlift first day in the gym? What your height and weight? Well, that's kind of a hard question to answer. It's very complicated because I didn't really squat or deadlift until about 5 years ago. And the first time I went in there, a 300 deadlift was kind of tough for me. Then within about a week, because I was strong in general, 405 worked up. I remember doing a 455 deadlift and missing it like 4 times, and I finally got it. And the guy that I was training with didn't believe me because he was in the other room. I had to come back and do it again to prove that I could pick it up, and I did it. So I remember when 455 was a freaking hell of a deadlift for me, and I was probably 250, 260 pound guy. So we all come from humble beginnings. But the first time I ever hit a weight, I mean, back in high school, but it was off and on, and I didn't get serious until probably 2010. When I was really not even worried about weights. I just wanted to be in shape with muscle and not be fat and all fat. So I went to the gym. I really am not even like a gym shark. I'm not really the type of person to really like to go to the gym. I go to the gym now because I have a goal in mind, and because I know that going there and putting in the hours and the sacrifice is going to get me to my goal. But that's why I'm okay with putting my headphones on and kind of sticking to myself in the gym. I'm not really one of these guys that's like a gym douchebag that goes in there and struts his stuff and looks in the mirror and shows off. I just go in there and do my thing and get out because it's a means to an end. Not that I necessarily have a problem. I do have a problem with guys that go in the gym and just they're freaking douchebag assholes. I do have a problem with that anywhere in life. But if you are a guy that has to be in the gym 24/7 and that's where you get your kicks, then go for it. Like, that's your prerogative. I just honestly, I'm very lazy by nature. I like to just chill. I like to just hang out, sit on the couch, watch a freaking Netflix documentary and eat. That's me. I like hanging out with the family. I like hanging out, I'm not really a gym guy, but I need to go in there for hours on end sometimes because I have rest periods and things like that. I need to get my stuff out of the way. But I love swimming still. I'm an avid swimmer. You know, I don't swim as much as I would like to, but I'm sure after I stop powerlifting, I'll get back into shape, you know, and swim once or twice a week just on my own, just to feel that tranquility in the pool. But you know, that's just me. Favorite supplements? Well, obviously Animal. I've used Animal since well before I was sponsored by them. I mean, I remember taking Animal back in 10 years ago. Animal Pack vitamins, the whey protein. Now, let me put this out there, and I'll be straight up honest with everybody. You can lift safely without supplements. You can. You just need to eat. But the reason why supplements even exist is because a lot of the time we just don't get the supplements that we need. We don't get the vitamins in our foods. We don't get the protein. We don't have enough time in the day, especially if you're trying to eat a bunch of food. You just don't have time to just sit there and eat a bunch of meat and have all your carbs and your protein and everything like that. So you take it in a supplemental form. And so, you know, I've known that from a very young age, and especially with the fact that the calories that I burn in a day, you know, I get cramps and this and that. I need to supplement the protein or the potassium and the sodium and the things that I'm losing through my sweating and things like that. I don't want to just sit there and add a bunch of salt to my food. I want to take it some other way. I take it in a tablet form, supplement. That's what it is. But I am you know, through and through an Animal fan for life. I won't sit there and preach a particular supplement company because of any type of sponsorship only. I will not have a company that sponsors me unless I believe in them anyways, through and through. So straight up, you know, if I don't think the product is good, I don't care how much they're paying me or giving me or whatever. Why would I use it? It's not worth it. Let's see. What have you learned recently in training? I mean, I'm constantly learning. If I had to pick one thing that's like earth shattering, I would probably say that you can actually have a good day on a bad day. When everything else seems to be kind of falling apart, maybe the warm-up isn't going right, maybe it's outside the gym, maybe your head, you just can't get it right. I use my headphones quite a bit, very much of a tool. I'm very much musically driven. I love music, and it can be any type of music, honestly. I'm not a real huge country fan, but I think it's because it doesn't move me in an excitement kind of way. My wife loves country. We live in Texas. Country is everywhere. There's some country songs that are phenomenal, that have a really good sound to them, and they have a really good message, but I am not going to listen to like the spoken word in my ear when I'm working out, or a song about, you know, life and love. That's just not going to get me going. I want something that's got a good beat, some rhythm, some, I mean, it could be anywhere from rap to rock to, I mean, there's just, honestly, even some old like 80s, like Phil Collins and things like that have kind of an emotional feel to it, where it's a little bit of a rock tune to it, but it's not like, or even dubstep. I can listen to dance, because it gets my blood flowing. It gets me really excited. I can be walking out of the bathroom at the gym, getting ready for my next set, and a certain song will come on, and it may be one that I've already planned on listening to, or it may just be one that I'm on Spotify. I have a channel that just kind of randomizes it, and it'll hit me in a certain way, and I can feel the chills go up my spine, and it's almost like, yeah, this is your moment. And as soon as you walk out of the bathroom, it's like coming out of the tunnel in an NFL stadium for a game, and your adrenaline rush just is there. And like, you know that this is your moment. And that right there is the state of mind that I want to be in on every big lift. And I do it for accessories. I do it for my main lifts. I do it for drop sets. And as soon as I can get into that state of mind, everything else goes away. Some days are harder than others to do that. And there's been days when I kind of was just like, this sucks, man. I don't want to be here. It's rainy outside. There's no motivation. There's no adrenaline. I feel like crap. My nose is running, whatever. And I will find that place as hard as I can look for it. And if I can get it, man, it's a good workout. And then afterwards, I feel good because I'm on an adrenaline high because I hit my set. It may not be a PR, but I know that I've accomplished something that particular day, and it makes me feel good, and that makes the rest of the day go really, really good. It can change the mood. And that's kind of the drug of the gym, if you will. It's not necessarily being in the gym that does it for me. It's doing what I'm having to accomplish in the gym. So that's my thing. That I would say learning the lesson in a nutshell would be learning how you operate and what gets you motivated, and to be able to motivate yourself, if you will. How long is my off-season training cycle? It really depends. Took kind of a short one between June. I didn't really have an off-season. I went straight into Boss of Bosses training. And I didn't take a true off-season. I mean, maybe 4 weeks of some heavy, lighter, sorry, lost my train of thought. Some lighter weight with higher reps for about 4 weeks after Boss of Bosses. But I'm also I was going into a bench only cycle, so I'm going to be basically taking an off season for my squat deadlift for an indefinite period of time. That is huge for me. That gives me a lot of energy when I'm not having to do heavy squats and heavy deadlifts week in and week out. I may drop in and do a heavy squat 1 week and then 3 or 4 weeks off from squats and hit like 400 for some reps, just light for me. And then hit heavy deadlift and then keep those down for a couple weeks just to kind of keep it spiked a little bit, but not sitting there hitting 700 deadlift every week or 650, 700% squats every week. And it gives a lot of recovery time for my bench, and I really, really like it. But off season, I would say typically last about 8 weeks roughly before I gear back up and get into my higher reps. I don't ever go from like balls to the wall, 8 weeks off, balls to the wall. It's always 8 weeks off, and then I slowly taper into a 20-week cycle, and then it doesn't get heavy until like week 16. So honestly, you could say they're almost 20-week off seasons between huge meets. Do you know how or if it's even possible to strengthen a bicep tendon? Well, you can always strengthen anything. Now, specific for biceps, I'm assuming you've had some bicep issues and you have a bicep tendon that's causing you some trouble. Without knowing too much information, of course, I'm no doctor, but for my own benefit, what I've done is I will typically, if anything strains or anything is bothering me, I ice it. And I do that minimum for 72 hours. I ice for about 10 to 15 minutes. Off and on for maybe 20, 30 minutes if I, depending on what's going on, for 2 to 3 times a day. So about 6 times over the next 3 days. And then I start kind of assessing it. Is it something that needs more ice? Because normally the swelling has gone down by that time. If it's not the case, then I start worrying a little bit more, and I start either icing it more or start figuring out, hey, I need to either start doing some rehab on this or maybe even go to a doctor. But anything regarding your bicep, obviously arm stuff, I would keep it light and I would do bands. Bands typically help with the tendons. You can do some high rep, very, very light band, like 5-pound bands, just enough to get some tension going on there. And I've heard a lot of people that know a lot about strengthening and recovery of injuries that use bands, and there's a lot to it. I wouldn't necessarily go into weights until you feel like it's 100%, just because there's no reason to put extra stress on it. The bands don't provide a lot of stress, so we'll try that and see how it helps you out. Thank you, Beast. I appreciate it. I've learned one thing about being humble is you can look at it in a superstitious way where if you think you're the shit, you will get knocked off your block real quick. The other thing is, I think we're put here on this earth to help each other out. And if you're not willing to help somebody else from your post, if you're higher than they are and willing to reach back and help them out, then I think that says a lot about you as a person. This world needs a lot more people that are willing to help others out. Human nature tends to be to put others down, kind of step on them and stand up above them like you're better than them. And I can't stand that. I think we're all guilty of it at some point in time or another. We'll make fun of somebody and maybe not realize what we're doing. But I think if you're a real man, if you're a real woman, you realize if you can recognize that you've done something, you can admit you're wrong and then fix it, or at least try to amend things. And a lot of that is just, I think life experiences, being places and seeing things and seeing how people are around the world. I've had the privilege and opportunity to do that. You see different cultures. You see how people operate, and you see the human condition. And it's disheartening to see so many, for lack of a better way to describe it, so many assholes in this world that are just there for themselves. And I get being, a little selfish because that's human nature, but you got to be willing to reach out and do something greater than yourself. Because at the end of the day, even if you're so selfish that all you care about is yourself, you're never going to propel yourself into the limelight or stay in the limelight if all you care about is yourself, because people are going to see right through that. So even if you're doing it 100% for the gram, or 100% for the social media, or the fame and the fortune, people are going to see right through that and notice that you're a douchebag and immediately, stop liking you. So even if you're going to go for the selfish side of things, you've got to at least be able to recognize that and fake it, if you will. But I think at the end of the day, if you can do it naturally and want to help people, then you can sleep better at night, knowing that your time on this earth actually helped somebody else out, and you weren't wasted just upon yourself. Because at the end of the day, who cares what Swimhack benches? Honestly, I mean, if I go and put up an 800-pound bench press, 20 years from now, I'm not lifting anymore. 50 years from now, I'm no longer on this planet or whatever. It's like, okay, you're a record then. Okay, great. This guy used to lift, whatever, big deal. But if you're the guy who can help other people out and help them reach their goals, and you can build friendships and help build relationships that way, then you've made the world a better place. And I think that's what we should all strive to do. I didn't start thinking that way, honestly. I mean, I've always been somewhat that way, but I didn't really start really thinking about legacy until I was older. And that's not something I would expect young guys to really care about too much. You're too energetic, and you want to do your own thing and make your mark in the world. But once you've kind of made your mark, you want to leave a legacy. So when you start, getting upwards of 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years old, whatever, I think you start thinking about how to make the world a better place, because you start recognizing how shitty things can be, and how many people really need help out there. So if you have a skill or a talent or a story that can help people out, then by all means, you'll share it. In fact, the story itself, I haven't really thought a lot about. But if you guys check out King of the Lifts on Instagram, or you can do a podcast search for them on Spotify or Google Play Music. I did an interview with them maybe a month or so ago, and I told them my story. And I won't go through all the details, obviously, because it took me 2 hours to go through it with them. But I had never gone through my full story. My story, real quick, I mean, really in a nutshell. I was born, my mom left my dad. My dad was murdered when I was 7. I have met the guy who killed him, talked to him. I've grown up without a dad, but I don't use that as an excuse for anything. And I had a really good childhood, but I had a rough childhood in school. Home life was wonderful, but at school I didn't have that authority figure at home to, let's just put it this way, to whip my butt when I was messing up. And so I had a few years there where it was very rocky as far as at school. I was getting suspended all the time, and I had some really, really bad authority issues. But if you want to hear the whole story, check out King of the Lifts podcast. But I have had a lot of people reach out to me and say that story meant a lot to them, and that they can relate. And I didn't even realize that story would make that big of a difference. I don't want to say I was consciously being selfish by keeping that story to myself, but I didn't think it would help anybody else, so I didn't tell anybody. Now I really want to tell the story, because not so much that I want people to feel sorry for me, because I could care less about your pity or your empathy there. It's if that can help you out in any way, not just lifting, because lifting is just one aspect of life, then god dang, I want to let you know about the story. Because if it's going to help you, and you don't even have to tell me that it helped you, then by all means, I want it to help people. So anyways, I'll get off that little soapbox. How do I handle rest days? Very simple. I plan them out, and every single week I have Saturday, Sunday off, and I have Tuesdays off, which leaves 4 days of working out. Sometimes I will switch that around occasionally, but I always have 3 days of rest no matter what. I'll never, ever, ever work out more than 4 days a week. I will always take 3 days of rest. That's because it's mandatory for me. I will get minimum 7 to 10 hours of sleep a night. And that fluctuates every now and then. You might hear me say 7 to 8 or 7 to 9. Minimum 7. If I don't get 7, I am not functioning correctly. I don't feel right. I got about 10 hours and 30 minutes of sleep last night. It wasn't real sound, but I needed that 10 hours and 30 minutes of sleep because, and actually it's 10 hours and 28 minutes, because I had my heavy bench day last week, which I wasn't fully recovered from. Until now, my triceps are still a little sore from the weighted dips that I did on Thursday. Today's Saturday. So that goes to show you that I'm going to want to get a lot of rest tonight, a lot of rest on Sunday night, Monday, and I'll hit my bench on Tuesday. I take this rest and recovery very seriously because if I'm not 100% rested, I don't feel 100% confident going into the next bench day. And I tell you one thing, going for a PR, you want to feel 100%. So that's my take on it. What's up, Mike? Best bench assistant or accessory would be, I'd say for me, is weighted dips. Love weighted dips. Now, some people can't really do them because of elbow issues or because of the fact that weighted dips, maybe they can't even do their body weight. So I would focus on maybe some bench dips where you just kind of have your hands behind you and do some dips that way. If you can put weight on your lap, then so be it. If not, assistant-wise, figure out if you're slow off the chest, and if you are, set up on a squat rack and do dead press. Just Google dead press, look up dead press on YouTube. Or if you're slow for your lockout and maybe you struggle to hit your lockout, do pin presses. Same exact setup, except it's called a pin press because you're setting it up from the pins and you're pushing up. Look that up as well. Pin press, it's called lockouts as well. Those are probably the two best. Kirill's bench form is near flawless. Yes, it is. He's got a very, very pretty bench. I'll tell you that much. Who knows? 464. How do I avoid pec injury? I pay attention. I pay attention 100% of the time. I know how I feel. I know if I'm out of the groove. I know if it feels off. I know if it feels like it's stretching too much in one direction. I know if it hurts. And if it does, I either fix it or I stop. That's how I avoid pec injuries in a nutshell. Same thing with pec tears. Pec tears happen typically when you don't listen to how your pecs feel and you stress them a little too much over time, because one week you might feel something and the next week you feel a little something else, and then you want to keep pushing through and keep hitting your sets, and you don't want to back off. And by not backing off, you're not listening to your body, and your body then responds by tearing because it's not going to do what you want it to do. All right. I have reached, I believe, the last of the top chat. Let me see if I missed something here. And if I missed your question, please feel free to comment again, because I think I just met the whole thing earlier when it paused. It kind of screwed everything up. Let's see. I did not answer the strict press question. Anabolic machines, if you could ask that again. What total do I want to achieve in powerlifting before you retire? I want a 700 plus bench. That's all that's on my table right now. I've got my 2100 total. I'm excited about that. I don't have any other goals with squat or deadlift. It's funny because I asked my wife that the other day. I said, what do you think I should do after 705? And she said, well, and obviously, I think I'll stay bench only until I can try to take down the all-time world record and see how close I can get to that and see what happens. But I can tell you that's going to go up there pretty soon. It's going to go upwards of 750 real soon. And that being as small as I am, if you will, that's going to be pretty tough to go 750 plus just because it's a crap ton of weight. And I don't know if I really want to go into the 300-pound range and like sit at 315. I don't know, because honestly, I feel like I'd just be unhealthy, and I don't know if it's worth the risk. But that's a whole other, we're talking 6 months, a year from now, so I'm not even going to worry about that. But I was, I was kind of talking to my wife. I said, well, what do you think should be next? She's like, well, we talking about like up in the squat, maybe an 800-pound deadlift. And, I was like, well, crap, we're going to go 2,200 total, like do 1,000-kilogram total. It's like, at what point do you stop, So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. Stay tuned. I'll let you know, that's for sure. What's the story behind the clap? Nothing, honestly. It's just, I like that feeling of, excitement right before the lift. I don't necessarily want to get too amped up for the lift, but because it's right before the lift, it doesn't take a lot out of me. And because I've got chalk on my hands, it gets the excess residue off, which can be a little bit slippery almost. It's kind of counterintuitive. But because it creates kind of a cloud, it's kind of dramatic. It just sets the tone. It's almost kind of like when I set the music in my ear and I get that special, song going on. My adrenaline's already pumping, the chills are already flowing. If I get that clap, it's almost like, damn it, this is game time. And it's like, hey, action. So that's that. I don't know. I don't have to do it all the time. It's just kind of almost like a second nature thing at this point. Sometimes I don't do it, and I realize that when I'm watching the videos, like, oh, I didn't clap that time, or I didn't use ammonia that time, whatever. So it's not like it has to be the exact same thing all the time, but for the most part, it's pretty close. Hope you have a good trip there, waiting on a plane. Colombia. What's up, Colombia? Cambodian powerlifter. What's up, man? So started using the strong elbow sleeves. Same ones you got. Caused an injury. How much weight do you think it helps? It does not help me personally with any weight because I get them a size larger. I want them to be able to slip on and off, and I just use them for warmth. But if I got the right size, it'd probably give me 10 to 15 pounds, I would say. It's hard to say kind of what it is because I've never tried it with a tight. I don't like the restriction. I just like the warmth. So I do wear my sleeves, elbow and knee sleeves, mostly for warmth. But I don't want it to help me with the lift. Let's see. Beat you full. Can one powerlift and bodybuild at the same time? Short answer, yes. Obviously, you're good. Here's the thing: when you talk about bodybuilding, if you're truly bodybuilding, you're starting to get ready for a show. You're going to start depleting yourself, and you're not going to be in an optimal strength building phase. So, in that particular sense, in that time frame, it wouldn't be ideal to do both, but you could do both. Obviously, you've seen people do it. Ronnie Coleman, Larry Wills has even done it. But I think if they were to be at their best in powerlifting, they're not going to be cutting for a show for bodybuilding. They might be able to put up a world-class total, but for their own particular best, they're not going to be at it if they're cutting. That's for sure, because they're depleted. They're not all the way there. What were our squat and bench deadlifts first? All right, I answered that one. I do not do any direct serratus work. What's better, strong or SBD for elbow and knee sleeves? I'm going to be straight up honest with you. They are basically the same exact material, straight up. I'm not going to lie to you. I personally have used both. Obviously, I've been sponsored by SBD. I've been sponsored by Mark Bell. I like certain aspects of both products, but let's be real. They're basically the same product. And you'll find that among a lot of different things. They put their name on it. And really, what company do you support more, I think, is at the end of the day. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some that differentiate themselves from the others, like Slingshot versus like the Bench Daddy. It's different materials. It's different ways that they sew the material. Some can last longer than others, depending on how hard you beat them up. But most of the A-branded like the A-name, A-list companies, all are going to have very, very good products. They're not going to sell you a crap product. It's going to be the B-listers or the ones you find on Amazon that are kind of the no-name companies that will put one less stitch in it and it will fall apart on the platform in less than a year. Every single piece of gear that I've ever owned, I still have, and I could still use it 4 years later because it's just very, very well made. So you're not going to go wrong with it. Price is the other thing that can differentiate. If there's a one that's a little bit cheaper than the others, then, obviously money's money. But straight up honesty. Let's see. Connor, how to prevent form breakdown in the form of the shoulders moving out of the protracted, depressed position while doing bench for reps. Okay, in a nutshell, what you're asking is how to stay tight during reps. Good question. If you start to lose tightness, it's not because of necessarily that you are using bad form or that it's because you're getting tired, and it takes energy to stay tight. So, and I have the same problem. Form breaks down when I start doing reps. And what I typically will do is I will make sure that I get as tight as I possibly can, and I focus on moving the weight and not staying tight. Because if you focus on staying tight, it almost like makes you loose. I don't know how to really explain that, but if I focus on just getting through the set as effectively and efficiently as possible, I know that my form is, or my tightness is going to break down through each rep. That's why you see typically, and obviously it's a fatigue-induced state as well, but like on, say, you know, rep 10 is going to be harder than rep 1 because you don't have the energy, and 2, you're not as tight. But if you feel like you're really losing your tightness, stop and reset. There's nothing wrong with that. Stop, re-rack it, reset your shoulders, and freaking keep on going. Just do it as quickly as you can so you don't really give yourself any extra energy or extra rest time if you're really trying to get through the reps. But that is a good question, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, it takes energy to keep tight, so you're going to spend that energy. There's no way to get around that. You know, you don't want to start slipping around and being out of form too much and just being, you know, you start with your shoulder, your scapula retracted, and all of a sudden you're flat back and you're on rep 20. You might want to reset halfway in between there. What was my max at 24? About 300. Strict press carryover to flat? No. I would say not at all, honestly. I have not done strict press for a number of years, and obviously I don't need it. It's not helping me grow my bench, so I would say no, not at all. Shoulders, your strength in your shoulders will help carry over, but you can do that through a lot of different factors. So it's not strict press always. You can do it with dumbbells. You can do it with machine press. You can do it with barbell press. It doesn't necessarily be strict. You can do overhead press, obviously with dumbbells, with barbell. On the machine, you can do supersets with dumbbells. A lot of different ways to hit the shoulders and fatigue them and get them stronger to help you with the bench. But I would say no, strict press doesn't have a direct carryover to bench. What's up, man? Good. Say hi.
Hi.
You wave. Say hi. Say what's your name?
Connor.
Connor. How old are you, Connor?
3.
3. It's my youngest. All right, go play. Go eat a little bit.
And to tell you he's hungry.
I figured. All right, I'm gonna cut this short here in a little bit. I'm gonna answer, see how many more questions I can get. And if I miss your question, I swear, there's so many of them. I'm sorry. I really do want to answer it. If I don't answer it, hit me up on a DM on Instagram at Swimhack. Shoot me an email, swimhack@gmail.com. You can always go to my website, benchonly.com. Shoot me an email there. I'd love to help you out any way I can. I don't want to skip over your question, but I only have so many hours in a day. Are you going to cut down and get ripped after you get done with your goals? Yes, absolutely. I want my 6-pack back. I want to be 5% body fat and be sexy for the wife. What's up? What's up? Shiko program, one of your fans from Hong Kong. What's up, Hong Kong? Okay, so in a nutshell, because I ask a lot of different questions about different types of programs, I am a fan of any program that is able to give you some progress. I think anybody can get progress out of just about every single program if you stick to it long enough. I think you're going to learn that certain programs will help you more than maybe somebody else. And it's okay to change, let's say every 6 months or every year. Just switch it up if you're not seeing the progress that you want. I've heard great things from that program. I personally have never used it, but I've taken a look at it and I think it looks solid. I've seen a lot of guys obviously get a lot out of it. So if you're looking at trying it, go for it. And let me know how you do. Connor! You gonna flex, show your muscles?
Go get your shirt.
Let's see, Youngver. I almost bench 315. I'm around 10 pounds short, so you're about 305. and you've hit sort of a plateau. Any advice on training program to get over on? Oh, well, since you said training program, I'm not gonna try to sell you a program necessarily, but if you feel free to check out my programs, benchonly.com/training. I got my bench press programs. Like I said, any program, if you could stay on it for a good solid amount of time and get your rest and recovery and be smart, you're gonna see progress. When it comes to a plateau, something typically needs to change. Your body isn't responding because of something. It may be because you need more rest and recovery. You might need a different gym, even once a week. Just change up the gym, just change the scenery. You may need to change the time of day you go. Maybe you're not going in with enough energy. Could be a lot of different things. But the biggest factor that I've always seen is it's the training, it's the program, it's your approach, and it's just not quite sound enough for whatever reason. Most of the guys that I see that are in a true plateau are going to be doing kind of their own program, finding some stuff on the internet, throwing it together, and it's not really fitting the bill for what they need personally. And so I would say get on a program that is known, that people have used before. That is, and there's free ones out there. I've got mine, obviously, and mine started at like $19 on the website. And I've used a lot of my time and expertise to put these programs together, and I know they work. I've gotten a lot of people. In fact, every single person that's ever used them that I know of, I've never had anybody tell me they didn't work, and all the feedback that I get is positive, have gotten great responses. So, all right. Do I think you can do powerlifting as a vegan? Me personally, no, because I love meat, and I will always eat meat for the rest of my life unless it's got some disease or something. And no, I do not. No, I don't plan to go vegan for health reasons. Now, if it was a matter of no more.
Come sit down right there.
If it was a matter of health, like I was told by a doctor, hey, you cannot eat meat because you got a certain type of cancer and you have to eat vegetables. Hell yeah, I'd do that. Why would I be stupid not to listen and do what would make me better? But as a personal choice for myself, no, I'm good. I love meat. I love carbs. Well, it doesn't have to do with carbs, but I don't have any reason right now, health-wise, to worry about what I'm particularly doing. Check out when it comes to the doctor, so I'm going to not change that up.
Yeah, come sit with me.
I've been rebuilding my bench while eating keto, and it's progressing but moving way slower than when I was in my 20s. Well, that could be a lot of factors, obviously. I don't know a heck of a lot about the keto diet. I've heard random stuff, but if you're not in your 20s, then I'm guessing that you're in your 30s or 40s. And of course, you're not going to progress the same way because you're not the same person. You're not the same energy ball that you used to be, and have a lot of, you're going to need more rest and recovery. I'm 17. I can rep 315 now. What helped me was 5x5 with 245, and then plateauing 280, doing weighted dips, increasing weights. Don't neglect pulling. Good comment. Yes, pulling is a necessity. Rows, even deadlifts, will counteract the motion of bench. You either stay right here or you can't run around. You're distracted. You distract Dad. Okay? But you'll see me obviously doing a lot of seal rows, a lot of pulls, a lot of dumbbell rows, one-arm rows, and some of them I don't even show because it's like a day 4 type of thing, but it's not, it helps. It's a supplement to the bench, but it's not necessarily what I really put a lot of emphasis on. But I do a lot of rowing, a lot of pulling to counteract the heavy benching that I do. And that's just to keep everything in line. You don't want to be moving everything or pushing in one direction and never pulling. So good comment. What's my opinion on CPAP, and do I use one? I do not use one. I've never had to use one. Luckily, I've had sleep tests done and I don't need it. But as far as people who use them, I mean, it's a health thing. My brother died in 2017 because of he was supposed to be wearing a CPAP and just didn't put it on that particular night. I think it was just recreational drinking and just was real relaxed. Didn't put it on and was staying in a hotel and lost his life because of it. So if you need one, then use it. There's no shame in that. But I also will go out on a limb here and say something a little controversial. It's because a lot of power lifters are big fat guys and they're out of shape and they need a CPAP because they can't breathe right on their own. So straight up honesty, if that's where you need to go in order to be strong, then be willing to take on the be health conscious about what the repercussions are going to be. One reason why people ask me why I stay in relatively good shape as I am is because I am concerned with health. I do want to keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on, and I'm not willing to put on 60 pounds of extra bulk just for a lift. That's my own prerogative. But don't get me wrong, I'm not putting any of you guys down if you are overweight and you need a